Let's get back to Canberra now. I want to talk about net zero because this is what the coalition is consumed with at the moment. Live to Andrew Clennell. Andrew, where is it at after the party room meetings this week?
Well, I think, we still have to have a decision, but they're going to abandon net zero, and that will save Sussan Ley's leadership in the short term and the coalition. They'll still have a climate target, but they'll focus on energy price. Now, Ross Cadell's leading the Nationals review on this with Matt Canavan, and he was on Politics Now with me yesterday, and I think he gave the strongest hint. And look, if the Nationals do that, if they want to keep coalition, the Liberals have to go the same way. David Littleproud on Sky suggesting they're coming together on a position. Sussan Ley told Party Room yesterday they're close to a decision. They will abandon the net zero by 2050 target, and it may be as early as next week, but certainly by the end of the year. Only 2 sitting weeks left. That means no challenge for Sussan Ley in my book this year. Not so sure about next year. I haven't seen a leader contradicted by colleagues that much since Malcolm Turnbull. You would remember that time very well. But let's have a listen to Ross Cadell on Politics Now yesterday.
I think everything is on the table. I'm not assuming anything in what we write and how we do that everyone's going to vote, yep, let's walk away, or let's do no emissions in the future.
But it's unlikely, isn't it?
I think it's the more unlikely option that we keep net zero by 2050, but there are all low probability options on everything.
Now, Andrew, it's pretty bad when you're counting the weeks when it comes to someone's leadership, potentially. I have seen that movie before, so we'll see what happens there. Interesting that you say that a decision on net zero will save her leadership in the short term, but what happens in the long term? And we also had news yesterday, Andrew, Tomago, Australia's largest aluminium smelter. It's unviable, essentially, and it could be unviable in just over 2 years. So what did the Resources Minister have to say?
Well, I think there's a clear signal here from her comments yesterday with me that they're going to have a federal government bailout. So there's an argument, energy price, which is, there's quite a bit of federal policy in there. It's forcing them to close. It's like a circle, isn't it? And then the government has to bail all these smelters, etc. out. So are they the cause of the problem and the solution, if you like? But all it means is a lot more taxpayers' money, doesn't it? Have a listen and see if you have the same view. But it produces 37% of Australia's aluminium. It's 1,000 jobs. It'd be a huge loss. It sounds to me like the feds want to get in there and hope the New South Wales government come to the party and keep Tomago alive.
We will continue to work with the owners at Tomago, with everyone. We want all concerned parties at the table to try and find a way through the difficulties of Tomago. What we have seen around the world, but particularly in Western democracies like ours, that are open to open market forces, is they are under pressure by artificial costs of production in other countries. Tomago's part of that, just like the BHP Nickel West refinery in my electorate was, just like the BP refinery before that, just like the Alcoa refinery as well.
So more government money, maybe?
It will need
bailouts.
It will need the support of everyone involved. And we are talking with the owners. We continue to talk to the state government. We want everyone to turn up with a proactive way of making sure the workers of Tomago and their families can see a bright future.
The Minister also spoke about critical minerals after the deal in Washington and put a target on what percentage of the world's critical minerals she wants Australia to produce. It's currently 4%. We know China produces 90%. She wants it to be 10%. So I think in the next budget, Laura, we'll see billions more to help enable this industry. More government subsidy, but in this case, it's pretty important to crack China's dominance. How much can we impact China producing 90% of the worldld's critiul minerals?
Look,
it's pretty big to
it's a
have
massive
any impact.
Well, even a 10% impact is a big impact, and that's what we're going to gun for.
You want 10% of the world's market?
That's what I want. I mean, I've got to work through.
What are we at the moment?
About 4. So we've got a lot to do, and it depends on which mineral actually. So it does change. So I don't want to create the wrong impression there.
Short, yeah.
Yeah, but or oversell, to be frank. But the thing is, we need to apply ourselves to this challenge.
That's really interesting, Andrew, because she talks about 10%. Is that really cracking into the Chinese market when they hold 90% at the moment? I mean, but also there's big questions here. I mean, this was a really successful thing to put on the table, a deal with Donald Trump. I think Anthony Albanese needed to do that when he goes to Washington. But really, when you look at market forces, if Trump's not in the White House and the market goes back to being a normal market without government intervention in this America First policy, are people really going to buy critical minerals from Australia when our processing is going to cost more and essentially it's going to be more expensive? I mean, is the world really going to buy our critical minerals over China's just for some, moral Western kind of allegiance?
Well, they might have to.
Well,
it's as simple as that. If
why?
if China overprices them.
No, if China
overprices them.
Well, sure, they are the cheapest at the moment. But look, it's worthy, but I just wonder where the dollars and cents are in it. And you're right.
It doesn't make sense to give China that much power over such an important resource. That's what this is really about.
Yeah.
But what it will do is cost us. But that is the thing. The world has been asleep at the wheel in terms of this. And look, I think it was something the Biden administration was looking at as well. So it's going to carry through even with Trump. But the other question around this is Kevin Rudd, when he was PM, and he sort of was a big part of this deal, he had a lot of sort of smoke and mirrors announcements, didn't he? As a lot of PMs do. So is this a real one? $1 billion each country. They haven't said where it's going yet. Yeah. And billions more to come. It's an expensive business, but probably a necessary one. Yeah,
worthy one too, and one that we're probably going to need to do more than 10% to overtake China's dominance. But you're right with what the minister was saying about Tomago and a bailout. Absolutely, that's where she's headed. I mean, I just looked at the last bailout. That was Whyalla, and there's 1,100 employees here. So it's hard to see how this government couldn't offer Tomago the same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the way. How much, and does it shut eventually anyway? So how long are we going to subsidise all these industries for? It's a future made in Australia, though, Albanese's selling. This is the antithesis of that. This is a rich area, a rich vein to explore in terms of attack for the opposition. They've finally got something to grab onto.
Well, I wish they would, because we're talking Joy Division at the moment. What's your take, Andrew?
Well, Tomago dominated question time, in fairness. My take is this has hurt Anthony Albanese and Sussan Ley. That's my take. Albanese had agreed with the cameraman on board no arrival shot because he'd been on a flight for 29 hours and he was tired, like the rest of us. And, he was in that shirt, but he probably shouldn't have got off, wearing that shirt, because there's always the possibility of cameras on the fence. But
sure.
He didn't expect to be filmed. And look, what I really want to hear is from Jewish leaders. Are they offended by this? Because that would elevate it a notch. Without that, I don't think there's too many concerns. And Sussan Ley is showing an ability, like she did with saying Rudd should be sacked straight away, to shoot from the hip a bit without consulting her colleagues. And they're taking advantage of that, her enemies. And this is why I say she's in a Malcolm Turnbull type situation, it feels like to me. But so I think both of them haven't come out smelling roses because of it. I don't think Anthony Albanese will be getting off a plane again in a band T-shirt. Can I make that prediction?
Yeah, sure. I don't think so either.
And look, I didn't know what Joy Division meant in terms of, the enslavement of women in Nazi concentration camps. If I knew that, I probably wouldn't wear a shirt like that.
He did. The point is,
a podcast.
That's right.
I know he did. There's been a podcast that shows he did know, which is probably the most damaging thing of the whole thing. But I want to know what Jewish leaders think, because what Sussan Ley thinks, well, that's just political, isn't it? And I don't know, you could correct me here, but I haven't seen Jewish leaders arc up about this so far.
I haven't seen that either. I think they've got bigger things to worry about, quite frankly. But look, we'll ask them and we'll see as well. I just thought it was prudent to bring up this article that I found. James Masola actually tweeted this. It's from a Jewish publication, a Jewish newspaper. It was published in 2015, Haaretz. And basically it looked at two books released in 2015 and examined how how the lead singer of Joy Division were hugely sympathetic to Jews and the Jewish people because of the Holocaust. I'll bring this up, Andrew, because we can often have this binary approach to what things actually mean. Just because a band called themselves Joy Division doesn't mean they were supportive of what that actually represented. Maybe, as these two books actually examined, that they were hugely sympathetic to Jewish people and what happened to them in the Holocaust, and they used their band and called their band that name because of that.
I saw someone comment on that post and say that they knew a lot about Joy Division and it was a bit of a stretch, the article. So I'll tell you what, though, the fact we're talking so long about this shows it's an issue, isn't it? And it's been the same in this office, and around Canberra last night, everyone was talking about this story. It's funny what takes off.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing for these characters in this band to do, isn't it? And what didn't they call it? Death camp. I mean, it's a bit sick. But anyway.
But it was also a band that was big, their biggest from 1976 to 1980. And so now we're putting this modern lens on an historic band and, often outdated opinions, which brings me back to this point, Andrew, is that, the Coalition say, there are bigger things than this. We shouldn't tell people how to live their lives. We shouldn't tell people what to wear. I just thought this was a strange thing to latch onto.
Yeah. Well, I tend to agree. But I guess it followed our colleague Sharri Markson's report on the podcast and Steve Jackson, the Australian, reporting similarly. So she's acting on a media report. And, I don't know, though. I just feel like Sussan Ley's in a bit of strife because her colleagues don't... And I know it was Nationals this morning, not Liberals, but there were Liberals in the Rudd instance, the Rudd sacking call. They just don't seem to have any discipline down here.
No.
Even if you don't agree with the leader, back her in. And the fact that that's not happening and she only won by a couple of votes tells you everything you need, and the polls are bad, tells you everything you need to know. Now, I'm told the challengers aren't ready or don't feel ready, but no, there's no way there's not another challenge this term. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it is going to happen.
Yeah, well, we've been there before. It's like a fire drill sometimes in Canberra. We'll see you soon, Andrew. Appreciate it.